Welcome to the No Fear podcast and the No Fear live broadcast. I'm your host, Tony Lauer. If you're into mindset training, performance psychology, personal development, you'll dig this new format. No Fear Live is a unique broadcast, and it's different from the No Fear podcast. We decided to go live because we wanted to create the opportunity to interact with people like you all over the world, where anyone can log in and ask questions, and in some cases, you may even get invited into the show. The great thing about the live broadcast is that it's much more personal for the listener. That's you. Remember, self-defense isn't always about a confrontation with someone else. The first and most important fight is winning the one inside your head. All right. Good morning. Good morning. We're experimenting with different times here. 08 Sunday morning. Did not like getting up early to talk. Thank you. I like my sleep. I love sleeping in. I usually don't. I wake up probably between 5 and 6 and 7 in the morning, but the idea of having to be in the office, getting ready to go, lucid, cup of coffee in hand with some motivational expression on my mug. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I post these pretty regularly. Let's spend a couple of minutes. Tim is on his way to his location. There was a car accident on the highway there, so he's running late. So what I would love to do, if you can, is just check in and say hi. Victor already did it. What's up, Coach? Is that 4 exclamation marks? Dude, I'm good. How are you? Can I reply directly to people right away? I can put you in a timeout. Okay. I can do other things here. So Victor, where are you from? And whoever else is logging in now, there's 7, 9 of you. It's growing fast. Let's break 10. But please, hi Tracy, please, while we're waiting for Tim to come in here, let me say hi to everybody from all over the world. Let me know where you're from. And if you've got questions, start popping them up right away. So when Tim gets in, we can hit them. So pretty excited about that. So Vic's from New Mexico. Glenn, how you doing? Come on, there's a bunch of you online already. If you're not driving, check in, let us know where you are. Theme today, what happened to my voice there? The theme today is a continuation from last week where I did a rant on, weapon protection, on fighting with people who have weapons. Maybe you've got a weapon on you, improvised weapons, stuff like that. Tim and I were talking, we're seeing a lot of people doing, let's call it grappling with weapon drills. And I want to be very delicate in this, and I think Tim is probably a bit better politically in explaining some of this. I tend to be a little bit more severe. He's a little bit more polished than I am. But we're not knocking anybody who's exploring this. So as we get into the show with what we're showing, we're not judging victim or victor. We're not judging style or system. We're talking about mindset and application for when you've got to close with the bad guy, close with the enemy. So I'm going to continue here. People are saying hi. We got New Mexico. Where else? We got a bunch of good mornings. Let us know. Fort Worth. Wow. Yeah, Ryan. What a powerhouse he is. If you know him, Tracy, tell him I said hi. And Madison, Wisconsin. Come on, everybody. Where are you from? Don't just say hi. I'm in San Diego via Virginia Beach via Montreal, Canada. That's my journey. We got Jersey in here. Elisa in the background is in Austria. And Tim is in Vegas. And hopefully he will be on soon. But you all know that if he, for whatever reason, can't make it, he just messaged me, stand by. He should be logging in soon. He just got to his compound where he's got his whole studio set up. Super important. this topic is something that isn't practiced a lot. It's not practiced a lot, and I'm going to show a couple of videos of things here, and I might have to show them again just to give you guys all perspective of what we're talking about. Again, this is not, and I say this because fuck, we live in the cancel culture. We live in an era where everyone's so sensitive. Even the thick-skinned people are like sensitive. I posted on Instagram this thing. Elise, is it easy to post that you know, the cartoon graphic that's got a few thousand likes? The
good reset.
Is it yeah, the good reset? Is it easy to
posting? Just give me a second.
Yeah, if we could share that. And I just want to preface this well, and guys, in case you haven't figured it out, I'm juggling, I'm telling jokes, I'm stalling. I'm like the opening act, waiting for Tim to get on here. But people are so sensitive that I know that if we show some other people doing some grappling drills with weapons, that they're going to look at it like we're criticizing them. So what I want you to think about is, you know, Tim and I are two old men who are observing things in the self-defense world, and we want to share some thoughts. Is there a way to blow that up so people can see that a little bit more? Or is that just as big?
No, unfortunately not.
Okay, so I posted this, the good reset, and it basically is just a cartoon that I saw. Got the the globalist scumbags buried underneath the ground, and what it is just a couple and a dog having a picnic with kids playing, and it just talks about air and good food and stuff like that. And I had somebody in the comments, you can make that disappear. I had somebody in the comments ask me how long I've been a right-wing kook and conspiracy theorist, and then said something to the fact about anti-Semitism associated with this. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Anyhow, so this is my big preamble. Oh, hold on a second. We got Abu Dhabi here. That's pretty far. Excellent. Okay. So let me go in here. I'm going to show a grappling video. And these guys are legit. This is a legit gym. These guys are doing great stuff. Let's check this out. And no sound. Why don't I have sound, Elisa? There we go. You got him. Oh, yeah. It's a good drill. Good energy, legit gym. Lisa, where's the video? Oh, why can't I see it? There it is. Oh, here we go. I don't know if there's is there sound on this? Why?
We don't have sound on this, no.
Okay. So I don't like, this isn't a real fight. These are two jiu-jitsu guys doing jiu-jitsu on a subway. Or anyone know if that's a real fight? I don't think it's a real fight. It looks like a real fight, but it's like two guys, like rival jiu-jitsu guys. Let's watch to the end here. Maybe they high-five each other. But they're clearly skilled guys. Somebody's filming them. No stomping, no weapons, no other people doing that. I'm going to go back here and welcome Tim here. Tim, you made it. I've been
I
stalling
made it.
you. I told all my bad jokes.
Dude, I'm bummed. I'm gonna have to see the replay.
Yeah, I get the let me catch you up on what I did, and I'm glad you weren't in the accident and everything's fine and you got in fine.
Yeah.
But welcome. I don't know if you know you're wearing a really bright purple shirt. It's
Yes.
gorgeous. Is that
It's my Ric Flair shirt.
I know. Can you do the Ric Flair scream, or you're not going to do that?
Yeah.
So what I was telling guys is this: is that, and it's something we talked about last time, and that is, we're just two old guys who've been around for decades who want to share some thoughts. We're not telling anyone what to do. We're options facilitators, and we've observed violence and studied violence for a long, long time. So this isn't about sport versus street in the sense of like technique. It's really philosophical observations, and I know you've done a tremendous amount of research, particularly talking to people who've fucked people up. A lot of times as martial artists, we think about and talk about what we're going to do, but and everyone listening to this, just weigh and consider this next thought. If Tim says to me, as the generic self-defense practitioner studying any of the XYZ martial arts, he says, what would you do in a fight if this happened? We unconsciously answer through a good guy brain. We're not asocial predators. We're not killers. We're not, right? So you ask, some of the guys you've interviewed, Tim, like, what would you do here? Like their answer is immediate, and it's almost based on experience, not on theory. So before you go, I'm going to turn the mic over a second. I just wanted to let you know what I told everybody. We're going to show, and I'll re-show them again so you can see what I showed. Video of people, and I was very, because of my experience with the internet online and bullying online and hate online and the cancel culture, I was reticent to show other people doing stuff. And I said to people, we're not judging things. We're looking at an application and then reminding people that we need to be careful what we practice too much of and lean into, because you create romantic or dopamine relationships with doing a certain thing where over and over again you're like diving in, grabbing a leg, taking a guy down, where maybe what you should have been doing is like diving out a window. And if you don't practice both enough, that could be a problem. You create an unconscious bias towards a movement that worked in practice, but you really weren't looking at the big picture, the total scenario.
Yeah.
So you want to take a look at these things, or you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, it's what people have to understand is it's not. Everybody's gotten so polarized. We talked about the political situation in our country. It's the same thing, kind of in the balkanization of combat sports, martial arts, self-defense. Everybody gets pissed off. You have to sit there and look at it not from your perspective of your training. You have to look at it from the perspective of actual acts of violence and how it goes down. And that oftentimes is really disappointing and inconvenient, because it makes what you're currently practicing probably not the best option for these types of scenarios. And
Can I interrupt? Sorry, I got to interrupt.
Yeah.
Did you guys listen to how eloquent that expression was? Inconvenient, inappropriate, right? Like I'd said before you got on, how I'm much more severe and you're just much more polished and professional in articulating this stuff than I am, because what Tim just said there, if you get it, could save your fucking life, right? We invest thousands of dollars, and I've had this over the years where someone comes and train with me, and after the training they go, oh my God, I feel like I wasted so much time and money doing this. And I look at them and I grab them, I go, no, you didn't. You still have a toolbox. You still have that discipline, that foundation. What you had was an insight that you were focused on a technique as opposed to a tactic. What is the big picture? What is the battle plan? What's the safest thing you can do? Sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
No, that's really it. So just everybody, when when I've had these conversations, and I've had some pretty heated conversations, not on my end, but on the other end, because immediately they think you're attacking their training or their basis, or something that they did isn't valid. And one of the most dangerous things is, which we'll probably see in some of these videos, is it can work once in a while, and that's a problem. The problem is that they'll say, well, it worked this time. And then it's kind of like the idea of the black swan. The black swan situation was, for years, nobody ever saw a black swan. And so they said, there are no black swans. And then the way that term came out was a black swan was discovered. And that invalidated everything else after that. Once your assumption can be shown objectively that, hey, the methodology you're using, there is a hole in it and there is something that can be done. The problem is when you show these black swans, and I'll probably talk about one or two of them while we're here, the response would be from a lot of these guys, they still don't want to give it up. They say, yeah, but that's the exception. That's the exception. And I get it. Tony, I mean, I know you have too. I have changed. If you look at stuff of mine from like 20 years ago, methodologies and we were using back then, they're gone now. Why? Because we found out they were invalidated by some event or something, or we found a better method. And just because I learned it that way doesn't mean that my clients have to learn it that way. And so anytime I find a better method, we implement it right away, because it's too important for what you do. And you can't hold on to legacy just because you did it, and that's my whole thing. But it all comes down to the first question I ask everybody when they talk about training. I go, what are you training for? What are you training for? And, most people can't really answer that question. They think they're training for self-defense, but oftentimes you find out, this guy, he likes to compete and he kind of enjoys, that type of thing. So he wants to do a competitive martial art, which is nothing wrong with that. But if you want to go down the road of training for street criminal violence, you're going to have to deal with some variables that are really difficult to navigate at times. And this is one of those things, So when we brought this up, you and I had this conversation before, and you said, oh, wow, the one thing I wanted to show everybody was, hey, I'm not shitting on these guys because of, it's a current thing and I can get some looks and create some controversy. I went back and I showed something from about 15 years ago where I was saying the exact same thing. This is not, and that's the other thing that you and I, we're pre-internet guys also. And it's funny how much stuff that back then that we taught is being rediscovered as new at this time. And so there are a lot of these methodologies, I don't claim them. It's just hard-won information from people who've actually done it. And also, my experience of it over the years. And so I just want to preface it that way.
Yeah, no, I dig that. And I made some notes here. One of the things that anyone who's been reading my material for any amount of time or listening to me talk, I always say, be careful what you practice. You might get really good at the wrong thing. Yeah. And that has always polarized a lot of people because they think I'm insulting them. And it was to go back to what you said very eloquently and elegantly, that, when you study real violence, you realize that maybe what you're practicing, this information is now inconvenient to you because you made this investment and you feel like, oh, like I've wasted this time or energy. And then people that, cognitive dissonance and cognitive bias and confirmation bias and all these psychobabble terms are like, why are you still doing that? If your singular focus, like Tim said, is personal safety, and then it expands to professional and personal safety. Maybe you're a cop, maybe you're a doorman, maybe you're a dad or a mom. You got to look at your scenarios. You got to look at how bad guys attack good guys, and then go, am I ready for that? That doesn't mean you can't also participate in and love your martial art, and a lot of people do both. Another expression that I love is be willing to give up who you are today for who you could become tomorrow. In other words, if you're thinking about expanding, and I always use the Maslow's hierarchy of needs visual of that pyramid, self-actualization it was at the top, and then survival was at the bottom. And what a lot of people do is they're always striving for self-actualization, some sort of wisdom or some sort of high-end technique. But all of that falls apart if your survival is challenged. And so if you're truly, truly scared in a violent encounter, you will lose access to, sorry to say this, just neuroscience, to the elements of your executive function that allow you to manipulate complex motor skills. Shit starts to change when you get scared, when you're in great danger. Even if you're fully engaged, you want to be thinking about primal gross motor, like big weapon systems to obvious targets, and be smashing things right away. But if you can't manage the fear, you're going to have a problem with that. One last thing there, you said something about how, things that you were practicing 20 years ago, continued research. You went, hey, I'm going to drop this. I got something better. I said this in, I think, maybe, I don't know, 1991. I was giving a seminar in Montreal. I had about 20, 25 people there. And one guy who had been training with me on and off for several years, Tim, he goes, I go, guys, it was it was so funny. I just had this memory because of what you said. I said, guys, remember this thing that I was showing you last year? I got something way better. Check this out. Instead of this, we're doing this. We're moving like this. It bypasses this. So dump that. And this guy, Doug from Alberta, goes like this. He goes, sighs and throws his hands up. I go, Doug, as you know, body language is 60% of communication. What the hell was that, man? And this is like a private certification, like all my trainers from around the world. And he goes, I'm really trying to get good at your stuff, but like every time I come back, you're doing something new. How am I ever going to get good? And I looked at him, and this is something also that you said that was deeper than maybe you intended in the conversation, where you went, oh, I'm here for self-defense, but really what the person wants to do is get a black belt. Oh, I'm here for self-defense, but they like competing. You've got to have the self-awareness to go, I don't give a shit about self-defense. I just want to get good at jiu-jitsu or Krav or whatever. Know what you want, and then that path will reveal itself. But this guy, what he wanted to do was, obviously his ego wanted to get to a certain level in something. It wasn't about practicality or effectiveness or safety, right? And I said to him, and I was holding, probably like a Motorola flip phone or whatever, like, the brick that they had back then. And I said to him, I said, dude, like, when they come up with a new phone with more memory and more this or that, like, are you going to go, you guys keep changing the phone? I go, do you have a computer? He goes, yeah. I go, like, when they come up with new computers with better RAM and better memories and better speed, are you like, you guys keep, we're improving the system. What's your problem? Yeah. And he goes, well, I go, not well. I go, let me tell you all something. And I pointed at the group. This is a true story. I looked out the window. I said, if I saw two guys get in a fight right now, and you and I have both watched a lot of violence. We've experienced some violence. We're researchers. We're pragmatic philosophers about this stuff. So you can get this. I said, if I saw a street fight right now, and I've seen a lot of street fights, and most of them suck, right? Oftentimes I watch violence, Tim, and I'll go, man, I wish somebody would attack me like that. That guy was so slow and so telegraphic, right? And then sometimes you see something where you're going, holy shit, that was scary. And I said to the group, if I saw two guys get in a fight and one guy did something where I went, oh my God, like, I have no idea how that guy just annihilated that guy. That was insane what he did. I said, I would give you all a break. And I said, I swear on my kids' lives, I would walk outside and I'd have a couple $100 in my hand at a distance like this. And I'd walk towards the guy and he'd be going, what's your problem? I go, $200 for a private lesson. What the fuck did you just do? And if he showed me something, and this is just like I think an insight I have from teaching for so long, and my curiosity of this, if he showed me something that I thought was transferable to everyone else, I would bring it back in and say, forget what I showed you, you got to see this. I would drop it right away. Yeah. If it wasn't transferable, in other words, he was a fucking unicorn, right? Like, right. Everyone knew Mike Tyson's TikTok. They studied it. but like no one's been able to make it happen in the ring. So Tyson was a unicorn, if that makes sense in that sense. But anyways, all of that, I'm rambling because I'm old and you triggered a memory of even back then. I told people if I saw something that I knew would make you safer, that superseded, circumvented, or fucking changed what we were doing, I would drop in a heartbeat. That's all I'm interested in is, are we safer?
Yeah.
Hey, Cody.
Yeah. It's just, it's one of those things where, you know, I always say, listen, you know, my principles have never changed. The principles of what I teach and why I teach what I teach, they've always been rock solid. But methods are flexible. You find something better, you have to give it to your clients. And I always tell my clients, I said, you know, I wish I went through the training that you're getting right now, because I didn't get that. You know, I had this path that I had to go through to get to where we're at today. And my guys know that too. My guys know they find something better. I can't tell you how many times, like one of my instructors will be somewhere and they'll try something out. So something happened. They get frustrated in a module, it wasn't working right. And so then they try something else, and lo and behold, they get a great result. And then we say, okay, let's pressure test it. Let's throw it in a bunch of seminars and see if it works. And we do. Sometimes, you know, sometimes it does. Sometimes it was a one-off. It just happened to be that class responded to it. Everybody else it wasn't a big deal. But when we get it, we do like a hot wash after seminars. And that's when we add to it. And a lot of times our clients are the ones that gave us feedback, stuff that we thought was maybe a throwaway comment or something that one of the instructors said. It resonated with them, you know, big time, and we put that in there. But I'll give you a perfect ego thing for me. Back, you know, when we do this, one of the things we used to do, we had some really badass knife defenses. You know, we'd come in and, you know, just all sorts of elaborate stuff, and it made us look really good. I mean, I would have guys come at me full speed and, you know, all that. And we had just great techniques, really brutal stuff. And then reality hit me, you know, because I started hanging out with a bunch of SWAT guys, training in law enforcement, and then I started getting the data. And the vast majority of the data in criminal use of knives, the constant was the victim never saw the knife. Like it was never even a thing. What happened was they thought they were getting punched. And, you know, the only thing that would have worked was for them to focus on getting into the person right away, not trying to disarm something that they didn't even know existed.
And what we practice is this. We practice not to, you know, I'm not making fun of Aikido, but you know how like someone will come running at you, like, you know, to practice that move. We see very telegraphic stuff. Now, for those of you out there, there's a place to practice and a time for that. But what Tim's talking about is if you're not actually reverse engineering real events, do you really understand or know what to look for or what's going to happen? You had a big smile on your face, like you wanted to.
I was laughing because one of the things, you know, the overhand coming down. We used to call that the Lifetime. I don't know if people remember Lifetime movies, but Lifetime movies every week had some abusive husband who would come to do the overhand stab, and so we always call that the Lifetime defense. And it's funny when you look back on it and then you compared it to reality. I quickly said, I'm doing everybody a disservice. We can't train like this. And one of my guys in Bogota got attacked, and the exact same thing happened to him. He was walking down the street in Bogota, and a guy runs up from behind, slams him, comes around like over his shoulder and slams him. And he turns around right away. This is the first event this guy ever had, first event of violence that he ever had. And he got right into the guy right away. He went right in, did a huge kick into the pelvic floor and dropped the guy. The other two guys with him take off. They go, hey, we're not with him. Boom. This guy gets, he runs after the other two guys. And as he's running after them, he feels up under his leather jacket. He looks and he's bleeding. He had been stabbed. He didn't even know he'd been stabbed at that point. And when the cops interviewed him, they said, did they say anything to you? No, they didn't say anything to him. Did they, you know, did they ask for your wallet or anything? Nope, didn't do any of that thing. They go, oh, it was initiation. It was a gang initiation. Mm-hmm. Two gang members take a guy in who they're going to get into the gang. They're going to witness him do a murder. And then that way the gang has something over the guy, also proves that the guy can do violence. They said the only thing that saved this guy's life was the fact that the first thing that hopped out of him was focusing in and getting an injury. on the guy right away. No knife defense, no anything else. He didn't even know he was attacked with a knife. So that's it. And I've got numerous criminal reports saying the same thing. And the people that survived were the people that focused on taking the individual out rather than worrying about a knife at that point. It didn't even play into the situation until after everything was over, and they realized, oh shit, I got cut, or I was, the guy knifed me. And so that's when we changed our methodologies on that. And that literally threw out probably 2 or 3 modules in the seminar that we were doing, our weapons seminar. So we had to revamp everything based off of that, but it was the right thing to do, and that's just it.
I bought a coffee mug that I have right here that is used when we're deciding if we should keep something or not keep it. And this is the mug. It's just fuck this, fuck that mug, and get rid of it. What's interesting is on paper we have a what would seem to be a conflicting approach philosophically, and we'll dive into that as 2 experts after, because I teach the 3 C's in a weapon confrontation: clear, control, counter. And I'm big on controlling the armed limb, where you're very big on, as quickly as you can, fuck the bad guy up, render him unconscious or disabled or whatever. And we'll get into that a little bit after. We'll show a couple of videos here. We'll get into that after. And I want everyone listening and learning from this, just to listen to that discussion, and watch how it evolves, and it can actually make you safer. And I'll tell you this: what I love about having Tim as a regular guest on here is several years ago I did a podcast with I just forgot his name. Andy Petranek, a triathlete, one of the original CrossFit guys from CrossFit LA, former Marine, I believe. But we were doing the podcast, we were talking about stuff, and his engineer, his audio guy, was not a martial artist, but he was listening to, we were just talking about self-control, awareness, 3Ds, detect and avoid, diffuse and de-escalate principles. And he was working on the audio. Both Andy and I were it was like winter and we were coughing and stuff. So he's cleaning up the like that shit. And he emails Andy after. He said, after I finished doing the cleanup, I went to go meet my mom for dinner and almost got into a fight and applied some of the stuff that I'd heard in the podcast regarding nonviolent postures and de-escalation. And he goes, like, I couldn't believe it. And so Andy messages me. He said, here's a guy, he's not a martial artist, but just listening to the information made him safer. So like everyone on this call, you might go, oh, I wish I could train with Tim or Tony or whatever. And you can and will one day, but this is training too. The mind navigates the body. If you understand something, if you hear something and it changes how you think about violence or how you prepare or not being, it's one of my favorite lines of yours. Where you and I'm trying to set it up so you just say it so I don't fuck it up. But your idea of, like, anytime you have a conflict with an unknown person, you imagine that they are 5 seconds away from
a shooting spree. Yeah. And you don't want to do anything to trigger it. And so it's one of those things. It's just about, like people say to me all the time, oh, you're such a nice guy. Wow. I really feel, clients will say, wow, I really feel comfortable around you and stuff like that. And I laugh. I go, well, I'm not a nice guy. There's no point in me showing false aggression or acting like that. I don't want anybody to know. Yes, in our worlds, Tony, people know us, but I'm traveling all over. People don't know who the hell I am.
Right.
I want them to think, at worst, the best case scenario for me is they think I'm just some old meathead that's just walking around, super nice guy, and that's exactly what I want. I don't want them to know that there's anything not only to worry about, but if I need this information, I want it to be a complete surprise. I can get into it right away.
Can you restate the your expression, because we talked over it. I was trying to tee it up for you to say it. about the
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, so when I meet anybody outside my circle, when I'm in general public, and this sounds at first it might sound like it's a paranoid way to live, but it's really not. It actually makes you a much better person. I treat everybody that I don't know like they're 6 seconds away from a shooting spree, and I don't want to do anything to trigger that. So I'm always respectful with people. I always engage them that way. It doesn't mean I'm docile or anything like that. It just means I understand human nature, and especially in this day and age, people get triggered so quick. You just have to really, think that way, because you don't want to use the information. You don't want to use the physical information that we give. As an instructor, I remember, you probably were the same, Tony. In our early days, young days, yeah, we loved it. We loved getting into it. Different time, also, you could actually fight and not have to worry about instant lawsuits and stuff like that. But as we get older and you start seeing more and more of the real stuff, and then you got 20 years of war put in, and then you've got me traveling all around the world, you traveling around, seeing the other countries and what people who survive violence are really like, or live in a very violent area. You don't. What you want to do is you want to give them that reality of, okay, worst case scenario, if this is what you got to do, here's what you got to do another human to survive. And then you back it up and you hope that, like you said, like the audio engineer, they're gonna use the information that they hear to minimize the chance of violence even happening to them, because they're going to be able to take proactive measures to make sure they get themselves out of a situation that maybe could have turned violent. To me, those are the best responses that I get from clients when they tell me, "Hey, Tim, the old me would have done this. I would have walked right into this, and I would have triggered right in, or would have answered this guy back." After going through your training, I saw it for what it was. I got myself out of there. And so that to me is the greatest gift you can give your clients.
That's one of the biggest things. Two quick things, and I'll show some videos, and we'll start dissecting some specific things. I had a guy in my school back in the 80s. Our classic fighting stance. By the way, this shirt doesn't say "No Ear." It's not a Mike Tyson boxing shirt. It's the No Fear shirt. We're like, everyone starts to learn, and before we did anything combat sport related, because we had a boxing ring and all the bags, and we had guys competing. In my school, you had to do 3 months of self-defense in our street ready protocol, which included the detect and avoid, diffuse and de-escalate and defend, moral, ethical, legal stuff, working on a counter ambush, the whole startle flinch, in the mid to late 80s, when we discovered the value of the startle flinch, aka a biological airbag. And I had this one particular story of a guy in class literally walked out in class. I said, "Okay, everyone, let's get in our fighting stance." And our fighting stance was our negotiation stance, guys, fingers splayed outside 90, but it looked like this. It looked like that. If I said to all of you, on the call, if I could see you all, and I do this at seminars, I go, "Everyone get in their fighting stance." Well, the Wing Chun guy goes like this, the boxer gets like this, the wrestler gets like this. Everyone has a telegraphic fighting stance, to Tim points of, hey, revealing your physical attributes in advance. If he knows that you know that he knows that he knows, and there's a fight, you've lost the element of surprise. Our fighting stance was always based on this Trojan horse metaphor of always, hey, we're cool, man. And I had one guy, Tim, in the middle of class go like this, go, "I can't do this." And I go, "You can't do what?" He goes literally, and I'm going to pretend apologize to anyone I offend. He goes, I look like a fucking pussy, doing this. Like, this is not how you. And I go, "Dude, like, how close is I don't want any trouble to any type of fighting stance? You're right there, but just understanding the nuance of body language, the gesture of patting the air. You're still ready to fight. It's three-dimensional chess here, man, at 100 miles an hour." And he walked out of the class. Couldn't handle it. Insane.
It's so funny, and the only thing I can say to people like that is, I can tell they've never been around real violence. because, you know, when you talk to guys like I talked to Michael Thompson, former head of the Aryan Brotherhood, eloquent guy, amazing knowledge when it comes to violence. He had a terminology for this, and you know, because we were talking, I was telling him about my, you know, 6 seconds away from a shooting spree, you know, being a nice guy and everything. He goes, "Oh yeah, Tim." He goes, "That was our whole thing." He goes, "We call it warm smile, cold heart," meaning you're going to use that deception but you're ready at all times, but the other person doesn't know you're ready. And you know, they live in a petri dish of asocial violence, and so their methodologies and everything is amazing, and they're incredibly respectful to each other. That's the other thing that's really interesting. The more I got into like the prison gangs, you know, where people are really surrounded and violence is the currency, it's interesting how they all interact. They don't want to trigger violence unnecessarily. You know, everybody thinks it's like this chaotic, you know, it's actually very hyper, you know, just hyper logical. The way they do things, it makes a lot of sense, hyper rational, and you know, and it has to be. You know, when real violence is the consequence, you're very careful on how you conduct yourself. You know, I tell the story, and I put it in one of my books. That Charles Poliquin, you know, good friend of mine before he passed away, great guy. He and I were talking one time. And he told me, he goes, "Yeah, it's so funny." He goes, "You know, Tim," he goes, "when I go anywhere new, you know, because he trained all over the world, he goes, I always have cops in my seminars, and I always ask them, hey, where do all the ex-felons work out?" And they look at him like, you know, "No, I want to go there. I want to go to that gym." And the reason being, people were far more polite. He goes, "Nobody grabbed your weights. Nobody stepped in front of you. Everybody just acknowledged each other. You know, they weren't like, you know, cordial to each other, but there was just a mutual respect for everybody." And again, why? Because if you violated any of that, it was immediate. You know, it would be backed up with violence.
And it wasn't.
It's just an amazing. You know, people think that you're going to be, the more civilized we are and everything, the less violent we're going to be, and it's actually the counter. A lot of times, the more accommodating we are to people for you know, bad behavior, the worse it is. And you know, that's a Robert E. Howard quote that I'll probably bastardize it, but basically he said, "Barbarians are more polite than civilians." He goes, "Because barbarians know that if they're impolite, they're going to get their head, you know, cracked open." And you know, it's really true. And so there's that level of how you conduct yourself is even more important. That's why I look at a lot of people on the internet and stuff, and I see all this chest thumping and all this ridiculous posturing, and it's dangerous in this day and age to do that, because just look at what's happening. Look at what's happening in LA right now. I can't believe LA, the brazen violence that's going on there, and just we're not doing anything about it. The police can't respond to it. It's crazy, and people are conducting themselves like it's, you know, 2018, 2017 when it wasn't that way, and they're getting themselves in a lot of trouble because they don't realize that times have changed. And how you conduct yourself is really important. And your situational awareness is even more important than it's ever been. I know we're getting off topic on what we were talking about.
No. It's actually not off topic, because, you know, let's say you and I both we got together and came up with the best move for gun knife disarms ever. It was one move and it worked all the time, right? The mind navigates the body, folks. That even if you learn this freaking amazing move, if you didn't have the situational awareness, we have a maxim in our system: no awareness, no chance. And awareness isn't just external, it's internal. If you don't realize that you're racist, or you're a bad drunk, or you hang out with the wrong people, or like just that difference, you say the wrong thing to the wrong person, you accidentally go to the gym where all the ex-felons work out, and you've got the same poor etiquette of your Globo gym, and you go and you just grab some guy's bar bench, and he goes, "Hey man, and he politely says, "Hey man, I was using that equipment," and you know, and you look at him and you say something really rude, he's not thinking eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. He's going, you know what? I'm going to pick up that plate and crush your head and kill you. Or I'll do it outside or whatever. And you better hope he can diffuse himself, but he doesn't care at that moment, right? So, while it sounds like we're off topic, we're in many ways serendipitously right on target with the topic, and that is the mind navigates the body. You need to cultivate better self-awareness. Better self-awareness improves critical thinking. Better self-awareness and critical thinking enhances the information you get via situational awareness. So one last thing on that, you can go. Remember that video of the that kid that got stabbed in the throat in Australia,
Yeah,
and bled out super fast. Elisa, if you can find that, that'd be a good one to show. I think here also, for those of you who didn't see it, we'll see if we can find it. But you know, there's a situation where the guy, like, it was macho, monkey brain, let's go. And, you know, when you play with knives and guns, you lose. This is something that Patton said. He didn't let his troops do color war games. And when asked why, he said, because it erodes the respect for what the weapon's designed to do. We're not going to play with our weapons. And I always remember reading that a long time ago. And I would give people shit. I did this once. You'd have loved this. I was doing a weapon protection seminar, Tim, and I'm talking about stuff. And we're using fucking training weapons. And I see these two guys who came together off on the side, and one of them takes one of the training blades, and he goes like, you know, his buddy's standing there, and he clips him on the leg, and his buddy like stabs him in the ass, and they're like just doing like little things, getting ready for the drills, like guys do, right? And I go, hey, you guys having fun over there? And they're like, sorry, sir. I said, no, like listen, if the rubber knife or the wooden knife isn't real enough for you, I got some weapons you could use. And the class looking at me, I said, here, let me do this. And I walk in my office and I take like some fucking scary K-bar Rambo looking knife, you know, out of a drawer. And I go, I only have one of these, so you use it. You'll keep using the plastic knife. Here, you use this in the drill. And I give him the thing, and like they're even afraid to fucking hold it, right? Like, fuck. And then suddenly, like the energy in the room just changed, just completely. Oh, you don't want to do the drill with the real knife, which incidentally, folks, don't misunderstand this. You shouldn't fucking be doing training drills with real knives. And I've got stories about people almost dying, not in our system, fucking around with that stuff. Go ahead, Tim.
yeah, and it's the same thing. Like I really discouraged the other thing that was really hot. It's not as much now, but when they came out, they were a big deal. Were the electrically charged knives? They'd sit there and zap each other with stuff. And my whole thing to that was, dude, everybody, when you get punched, that's what it feels like. It feels like a punch. You don't even know that you've been stabbed on that. So this idea that, you know, you're just teaching each other to flinch and do things with knives in a false scenario. It looks like, you know, it looks like a really bad movie where the two guys are, you know, tied together with knives and they're going to each other. And these weird scenarios that people come up with are just, it's just counter to the way people actually really use the tool. It would be a luxury. As a matter of fact, I had one kid he was Romanian, amazing practitioner and former military, but he was a bouncer, and he said he had to stop bouncing because one, he almost, by taking care of somebody, he realized he almost was killed a guy who was coming at him justifiably. It would have been justifiable for what was going on, but he realized, I'm at a bar. I don't want to sit there and take somebody's life because I'm a security guy at a bar. That to me is like not a high enough threshold for me to be doing this. Why am I putting myself in this situation? The other thing that got him was there was a guy who he went to 4 or 5 big clubs in Eastern Europe, and he had the same MO every time. He would go in, he's kind of a goofy looking little guy, and he'd go in every time and he'd find one of the ballers that was there, usually a guy was there, had a couple of girls with him, definitely had money. He'd wait till he'd come out, and he'd jump out, and he had a goofy hat on and like a big, almost like a Crocodile Dundee blade. And he'd wave it around really like goofily, easily for this guy to go. And the guy would always take the bait, come in, knock him down, get him in the ground, and he looked like a big, like a big hero disarming him when he'd come in. And what he had in his other hand ready to go was the little stiletto. And so while the guy's on top of him disarming this, he's taking him out real quick, just silently, just boom, 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 grabs the wallet, gets everything that he wants, walks away, and the two girls, or whoever the guy's with, they have no idea what's going on. Why is he lying on the ground? What's going on? This guy would just calmly walk away. And, this is what predators are. This is the real predators. Right. This is how they operate, and this is the level that they operate at. And, we have these false assumptions that it's going to go down in a back and forth kind of way, and there's going to be these assumed, maybe not assumed rules, but there's going to be assumed escalations. They have a real problem when somebody goes from 0 to kill right away. Oftentimes they can't handle that. And you just have to make your clients aware that, hey, listen, here are the assumptions you have to make each and every time when you go out in the real world. You know nothing about these people. And, you have to expect that it's going to be a disproportional response. Therefore, is it worth you escalating it or getting into it? And, it's stuff like that it sobers you up when you look at training. And, when it comes to combat sports, like I said, the only way you can have combat sports, and this is not to denigrate it, it's just a fucking reality. The only way you can do it is you have to take out direct injury to the human body. Just look at any of the rules. And even in the old no rules days, they still had some rules. Right. Lots of them. And the other thing about the no rules, that's the other thing I want to just get this out of the way, because I got another video coming up that's going to probably piss a lot of people off. Even in the no rules days of the UFC, it is a competition amongst two athletes who are going at two martial artists, especially back then, because there was still a lot of the honor of the martial arts. It wasn't completely MMA back then. No martial artist and no fighter wants to deliberately maim, cripple, or kill another man over a competition. It's just not. The only way that happens is in the underground, where you have like there are groups like the Angels and stuff used to have death matches and stuff like that. Yeah, there's that aspect of extremely rare. So to say like, well, so-and-so tried this in the UFC and it didn't work. Well, he didn't really want to do it. Right. He don't really want to, and rightfully so, you wouldn't want to do it. Doesn't mean that you can't do those kind of horrible things to people. The information that I've been shared with the corrections community that I work with at the Supermaxes, watching how these gangs operate, what one human can do to another human with improvised tools and their bare hands is absolutely freaking horrific. Sure. And that's intent. And so when people tell me, oh, you can't do X or you can't do Y, or, this was no rules and this one, I just look at it and go, no, it's not violence. That is a staged competition. I'm not saying it wasn't bad. I'm not saying people can't get hurt. And there can't be unintended injuries that happen. Absolutely true. What I'm talking about is the intent to really do harm to another human. If that's not in the event that you're looking at, then you're not preparing for worst case scenario.
It's funny. In 1993, at the first UFC, I was cage side. I was writing for 3 magazines, and I wrote the line that was really controversial and put me on a kind of a watch list of like, who's this fucker? And it was like, I said, although the guys are really fighting, it's not the same as a real fight.
Yeah.
And people confuse a violent sport with violence, right? Emphasizing that. So let's show a couple of videos here. This is what I showed at the beginning. This is a legit gym. This is a good drill, good intensity, and we'll watch it again here.
Live. got him. You got him. You got him.
Hell yeah.
Okay, I'm going to show one other thing. And again, like I said, and like Tim said, whatever philosophical conversation we're going to have about this, like we're not talking about the athletes, we're not talking about the gym, we're not talking about the grappling. We're talking about a philosophy of training. And there were some interesting comments on this thread of people, you know, and it's people who don't understand. If you ask like a pro MMA fighter, if you know his training and his gladiatorial experience prepares him for street violence, 99% of them are going to go fuck yeah. And then you've got one of my favorite videos ever of, we talked about it last time, of two elite MMA guys getting destroyed by some gangs in the street, asocial predators who decided, let's use this piece of wood here to hit the guy over the head. Let's surround the guy. Let's jump. And had they fought mano a mano, after a rules meeting on a Saturday night, the MMA guys would have annihilated these guys. But the context, the disorientation, the fear, the overwhelm, all the other stuff. Let me show something else here that we showed earlier. There's no sound on this one, I believe. Now, Tim, I couldn't tell, like, is this a real fight? Or, I mean, both guys are skilled at jiu-jitsu, or is it two guys filming again for clicks online going, hey, look, we're grappling on a train just to show you how realistic or how every fight goes to the ground.
Yeah, I would tend to believe it's two guys, probably two training partners that are deciding to do it. And the only reason I'm saying that is if when you look at incidents like this on the trains, when it's really happening, the people around wouldn't be this calm.
Oh, I agree with you.
These guys are just kind of watching, and these guys they truly are trying to use purely jiu-jitsu. They're not trying to really harm each other. They're trying to submit each other. So they're probably just, for whatever reason, trying to, film it, try to get a unique video out or something like that. Nothing wrong. I mean, I was laughing. It's just like, right. Jiu-jitsu in between train stops, it's pretty good.
If you missed class and you're getting your rolls in after.
Yeah.
But, okay. Anything you want to say about the first or second video, or do you want me to? And I've got your Vegas.
So what was interesting in the comments in that first one, where the MMA gym, where they threw the gun out and they went in there were assumptions being made there. First of all, the assumption was the dangerous thing was the tool on the ground. That was the first overall assumption. And when you saw these guys, the complete and total focus was on grabbing the tool and controlling the tool. Now, there's a couple of things. First of all, it's not their weapon, so they know nothing about it. They may not even know how to properly operate it. They don't even know if it's loaded. They don't know if it's operational at that point. It's just a tool. Right. So that's the first. So I see that all the time, where they go through these elaborate disarms and they take the gun away, and the guy's still standing with an active brain. And it's like, you're there. It was interesting in the comments. There was only one guy. Everybody else is like, oh, this is badass. And it's cool. Hey, listen, those dudes went for it. Okay. And you can tell they're good athletes and they're tough dudes. Nothing against them. And in the protocols, that's what they were told to do. So no problem with how they executed, because that was the knowledge base they had. The issue is, in a situation like that, you got to assume, okay, this is life or death. Therefore, what is my goal? My goal is to shut down the other human, meaning turn the brain off, because if you turn the brain off, then everything goes away. All the body tools go away, along with any accessories that are on the ground on there. So what is the real threat? The real threat is that active brain. And what's interesting is when you rewatch it with that focus, you see multiple opportunities for people to put real injury on the human body that would have ended the other guy. And then you have the luxury of picking the tool up after and seeing if it's useful to you at that point. But if you are just focused on the tool, I mean, to me, what was so funny was their heads are like right next to each other, their arms right there, and they're all focused right here on the weapon. Like, their total focus is there, when the ability to shut down the human is all around them. But they don't train that way. for that. And it's weird. And it was funny. There's only one guy in the comment section. Everybody else was, talking about the intensity of it and all this stuff. Valid comments. But there's one guy going, yeah, but if my goal is to survive this, why wouldn't I just, I think he said something like, kick him in the throat and then grab the gun. And it was just crickets. Nobody even had a response to it. It was just there. Because that's not competition. That's not fair. That's not, you're not the good guy when you do stuff like that. We've stigmatized the use of effective violence as it only being good for the criminal. And that's where you put yourself way behind the power curve when you're dealing with a true predator.
So let me throw something in here because the coach of this gym, legit badass. They've got legit world-class fighters there. And what started this is we saw a bunch of people, even buddies of mine, doing more and more of this gun grappling, where it starts and the focus is you're going to grapple over the gun, and you're using wrestling and jiu-jitsu and sambo to control the person until you can get access to the gun and then shoot them. And what Tim is saying is, let's say I got the gun here, and while I'm reaching for the gun, if I could grab your fingers and break them all, that where I was, if I could do that, then you couldn't grab the gun, and now you're, and I'm making this cartoony, and this is the argument, Tim. So I'm doing the devil's advocate thing here. Is what Tim is saying is almost like, and I used to use this a lot in my class. You remember the Holy Grail, the Monty Python's Holy Grail?
Yeah, minor flesh wound.
This is just a flesh wound, right? Like I would always say, and this is funny because I met another very famous cop. I don't know if you ever knew or remember the name Gary Klugowitz. He was one of the cops that wrote The Tactical Edge and Street Survival for Caliber Press. He was like Red Man's big. We've been buddies for decades. And we were talking one day, and I said, I always like to remind the people in training about the Black Knight scene in the Holy Grail. And he goes, oh my God, I use that too. And I go, well, great minds think alike. He says, yeah, I always tell my cops that you're going home no matter what the bad guy does to you. And I went, oh, wow. I always did it the other way. I always said the guy you're fighting is the Black Knight, and he's not going to stop. And you need to just finish. You need to finish him, of course, force paralleling danger. It was just interesting how to look at that scene differently. But the idea here, guys, if you remember it, if you haven't seen it, go Google it, Black Knight fight scene. It's a comedy. But it's this idea that if this guy's got his knife here and I chop his arm off and his arm falls, then this guy's got a pain distraction problem. Maybe he's dying from blood loss, but he doesn't have the knife in his hand anymore. And what Tim is talking about is rendering this guy unconscious or disabled as quickly as possible, which is what I agree with. I couldn't find the picture. I wanted to do this. It was from the early 2000s. It was me at Team 4 at Little Creek doing a weapon grappling drill with them. And I had them all surrounded. And so it was you'd have remembered back from your Navy days, the color, if I showed you the camos we were wearing and stuff like that. But we were outside, and I picked, and of course, I'm always much older than these young fucking studs, right? So I go, guys, you're fighting over a weapon. And we took, I don't remember if it was a knife or a gun. And I said, someone's going to throw it down to the ground, and it's going to go. And I'm demoing with the guy. And he throws the knife. I'm going to turn this here. We're standing there like this, and he throws the weapon to the ground. So wherever it lands, and then I said, say go, And as soon as we went, like, what do you think? Like this SEAL, tenacious, graduated buds, never give up. What do you think he goes after? Immediately when the guy said go. Just like Tim's saying, he went after, and I never said anything I just showed it. And he went to reach for it, and I kicked him right in the face. Not so that it would fuck up his nose and his teeth, but I didn't even move. Like as he reached down, I was standing. I just shin kicked him in the face, very controlled way. Made him flinch. He rolled over. I grabbed the gun, and I had control of the gun, and the guy was on the ground. And they were like, "Oh fuck!" And I said, "Guys, it was the same thing you're talking about." Now, to the credit of the guys doing the gun grappling, and there's an expression we use for everyone listening. The theory determines the experience. If somebody said to me, we're going to do a grappling experience here, and what your focus is going to be after your after action is, were you aware of the location of the weapon? Did you keep the little hole away from you, right? If it's a gun, were you away from the little hole? Did you learn anything about grip strength? What targets did you notice that we couldn't access because we're going real time, real speed? I do a lot of stuff in slow motion, as do you, because there's certain drills where if we did it real speed to the real target with the real follow through, you only get one rep. The guy's going to go to the hospital, right? So guys, everyone like looking at this, if you said, here is why we're doing this drill, but we're also doing this drill, this situational awareness drill, this avoidance drill, this improvised weapon drill. We're taking these targets. I'm on a bit of a rant here. I would tell people in one of our like where you've clinched with the guy and you gotten inside, I would tell students, I need you thumb in the eye, biting the ear, getting up there, fucking grinding that face. This is all you've got right here. And people in the class would say, do I have to bite my partner? Do I have to put my thumb in their eye? I said, well, you're not gouging their eye out because we want them to be able to see. And yes, you need to bite the ear. And I would tell people, if you can't think to do it in training, what makes you think you'll think to do it in the street? And so we're practicing that, but we also did drills like this. We also did this stuff
5
here, where but we would throw in there, the drill would escalate. People would be grappling and I'd walk over, Tim, you'd have loved this, you'd have been proud of me. Guys would be grappling over a gun and then I'd walk over with another weapon and I would just drop it on like top of the two guys. And now suddenly they're at another weapon. Or I would push somebody else in there. Right now somebody's stomping on somebody's head. And it was just making me realize, hey, you better not be fixating on one thing. And it come to your point, like if everyone's unconscious or dead, this weapon isn't that dangerous anymore.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Yeah, it's just it's the idea that what makes all that stuff dangerous is the other guy's ability to think and move. And if you take that away, if you focus on that being your goal, your primary goal, which is to either, we talk about it making them non-functional. It's either you're unconscious, you're dead, or you're broken in such a way that you're no longer a threat. You can safely turn your back on that particular individual because of the damage that you've done. And when you take that approach, there's a lot more opportunities. And some stuff is counterintuitive. We were training these guys during the Bosnia conflict. We were training NATO troops, and they were having some issues. These weren't American troops. I think they were Dutch. And what was wild was the rules of engagement were horrible. And literally, there'd be a sniper up on one side. The sniper could come down, run across the street with his weapon. As long as he didn't train his weapon on them, they could not engage him. He could get up on the other building and start back again. It was just they were completely hampered to the point to where some of the locals were running up to these guys, and they had like 80-pound packs on, and they're walking with their stires, and guys were knocking them over and grabbing their rifles and running away. And they were getting away with it. It was actually a problem. And the problem was these guys were taught, as most soldiers are taught, never let go of your weapon. Your weapon, everything. You always retain your weapon. Rightfully so. I understand what they're doing. The only thing we did was they showed us what happened time and time again. We go, great. As soon as the guy grabs the weapon, The soldier let go of it, stepped through, took his forearm, and just smashed the guy's throat, just with everything he had. Plus, he has all that weight behind him to come through. And it just took the guy out. But it was counterintuitive because you had to let go of something they've told you is the weapon. When you realize this is the weapon, everything else is a tool, and then you start seeing results from that. And again, it took a little bit of, not a lot of practice. It was a very easy thing for them to do once they understood it, because the guy actually pulls you into him when he's pulling your weapon. These guys were resisting it, and then the weight in the back was having them fall over and they're like a turtle. Once they used the momentum of being pulled forward and let go of the rifle and then just came right through the throat, it happened twice then, and that was it. That tactic was done. They throated 2 guys out there, and it was well within their rules of engagement. They didn't do anything wrong. Sure. It was there. But again, you had to sit there and challenge, mantras and edicts that were never let go of your rifle type thing. And
it's funny.
So
I said this to you years ago when you were a guest speaker at one of my combatives camps, that we do and say so many similar things in different ways. In our operator classes, we during struggles where a bad guy's got your long gun and you're fighting, immediately get your hands off the gun and go to town, closer to weapon, closer target. And everyone's like, well, no, we were taught never take your shooting hand off the gun, never take your. And I was like, well, you got a sling on and you're in what's called a no room to shoot, no time to shoot moment. If his hands are on the gun, that means his eyes and his throat and his face and his head and his brain and everything is right in front of you. There's things to do there. Tim, we're an hour, 11 minutes in. We've got a few questions here that I want to get to, but I wanted to ask you, do you want to break down the Vegas shooting video?
I think the reason it would be helpful is with what we just saw. Also, there was a video that you were showing me before of good grappler, and he was showing going up against armed individuals, and he was doing various drops on people, and it works. And then lately, I was glad you grabbed one of them. I am shocked by these police videos that are coming out where these guys are doing suplexes on perps. It's crazy when you again, did it quote unquote work? Yeah, it worked, but really that's what you're going to do. My thing was, we had a shooting in Vegas, and I just took a clip of the video that I did on it for you, and it kind of shows somebody who had every advantage, but didn't understand the parameters of what it's like to go up against somebody with a firearm, and didn't understand rotation, and used his tool. His tool was grappling. His tool was tackling and grabbing. And I just kind of want to show, when the focus isn't direct injury, there can be unintended consequences.
Cool.
Do that before he hit the ground. So what we're trying to get across with everybody is the idea.
I think that's the end of the video.
Hands on somebody in a life or death situation.
Let me fix that. It is the end of it. Who was that young man?
I know. That's what I was saying.
Hey, before we go to the video, just because we got cops on the call and citizens, stuff like that. When you say you see cops suplexing guys and dropping the perps on concrete and stuff like that, while it gets the job done, philosophically and morally, ethically, legally and stuff, what are some of the other issues with doing that? Like, why would that be less desirable?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. It ties the officer up right away. The officer now is on the floor with the guy. I understand why jiu-jitsu is very popular with police people, to apprehend and control a guy and get him into the system, because that's their goal. Their goal is not to administer the justice. Their goal is to take the guy and get him into the justice system. So there's a lot of good prisoner control tactics that you can use that jiu-jitsu is absolutely valid for. No problem with that. The problem is, a lot of times these guys, when they don't understand, because they only train in matted surfaces and they train with other, highly conditioned guys, or, other officers that are in decent shape, or the guys at their gym. When they take it out to real civilians, sometimes you had that incident in Miami. I think it was Miami. It was in Florida for sure, where a drunk lady, she was like 110 pounds. She drove right into a house. She comes out and she is belligerent to these officers, and she was resisting arrest. But the officer that took her and that booked her he was like 260 pounds, big dude. And he was getting frustrated with her. He had her on the back of the car. She was resisting more. And you saw, he just scooped her up and he dropped her. And he's probably done it 1,000 times on the mat. And he didn't realize with all 270 pounds on him, on this 110-pound woman, he dropped her on her shoulder on the concrete and, ended up breaking her shoulder. He got a use of force incident. And it's all because, again, they're not thinking about what happens when you really put body weight behind this in the real world. And it was inappropriate, use of force there. Right. And again, it's you have to, like, we go through a lot of stuff on, the vulnerabilities of the human body. It's a different approach when I do law enforcement, because law enforcement has a, force continuum. Sure. And you have to really understand that force continuum. So a lot of the stuff that I show that would be so inappropriate in lower forms of the force continuum, a lot of times officers, it's just an ignorance of the human anatomy. We had an officer, a case I used to use all the time. It was in Western Australia. One of the cops was taking down a guy, and he was trying to get him under control, his arms under control to get him cuffed. And the guy was on his back, and this guy put his knee right over the spleen, the cop. And the cop's trying to get a hold of him, and as he's doing it, he's going up and down, up and down, up and down, dropping body weight right on the spleen. He cracks the lower margin of the rib cage. It impales the spleen, and this guy ends up bleeding out. And it was just through ignorance. Right. By putting your knee there. He didn't know, you've got these huge, highly vascular organs right behind the lower margin of the rib cage, when the liver and the spleen, and that by placing your knee there, there's a good chance that, in addition to any blunt trauma, if the guy's on the ground, there's a good chance you're gonna lacerate the organ itself and have the guy internally bleed. And so a lot of times, understanding what you need to know for justified lethal force when you are, when the officer's life is in danger and he can do whatever he wants, that's super valid. But it's even more valid at the lower levels of the force continuum, so they don't do something by accident. Right. They can consciously say, when they're at the lower, why did you do X? And they say, well, because if I had done this, this, or this, that would have been, a level that wasn't, necessary at that time. And so there's two ways to look at the information. One is worst case scenario, this will help save my life. I know how to shut down the human body. And also coming back, when it's not necessary, I'm not going to do anything that I know will deliberately increase trauma when it's not justified. Right.
Two excellent points. And one thing I wanted to add, and this actually happened to a cop of a buddy of mine in Vegas, who took a guy to the ground, tackled him, but the way the guy fell, because now you got bodies in motion, it's not clean. And, you mentioned that, like, most of the training is done on a mat. He landed, the way the guy rolled and spun, the cop landed on his elbow and busted his elbow in the fight, which turned into like a guy trying to kill the cop. It was like a serious fight. And now he survived it and won it, but he's like fighting with a broken elbow, so because, he immediately went to tackle the guy and take him down. So just as much as, listen, I wrestled, I've played around with jiu-jitsu for years. I've got friends in the jiu-jitsu community that can turn me into human pretzels. They're amazing. Oh, yeah. It's just what Tim and I are talking about is right place, right time, and not having an unconscious bias to do something because you're good at it, because you like it, but recognizing, is this appropriate in this scenario? Let's jump to the Vegas. Anything you want to set up? I rewound.
Yeah, basically this was, I think I say it in this, but it was a shooting that happened at a nightclub early in the morning here in Vegas, Dre's. It was at Bally's at the time. Temporarily, the where Dre's normally was across the street, but that was being redone. So they had a casino floor level entry to the club, And they used to get a lot of randoms that would come by. And the guy you're about to see came in. He'd already been kicked out, and he was trying to come back in. And his interaction with the first two, security guys, the club security guys, you'll see that. And then you'll see as he leaves in the casino, there's an opportunity. And the opportunity worked that the individual used. It just had horrible results.
Really useful things to see on how people deal with an active shooter, what gets results versus what doesn't get a result. You're going to see the bouncer here talking to the active shooter before he knows the guy has a gun. I'm going to walk you through it, talk about it, stop at a couple of key areas, and we'll go through the whole scenario here. So as you can see, these guys are talking. There's confrontation. Bouncer's being aware. He knows something strange about the guy. He sees the guy digging into his pocket, going for a gun, and right there, what you're seeing is as the guy's pulling the gun out, the bouncer is trying to redirect his arm. He's trying to control the weapon at that point. Not necessarily being effective at this point, because you can see there's a rotation going on, and when the rotation finishes out, you're going to see that the bouncer gets thrown to the ground. So there he goes. He's on the ground. Now he's got the weapon trained on him again. Here's the second point. Guy reaches out and grabs. This is the second contact with the gun. He's now struck the guy twice, but he's going after the weapon itself, which is not changing anything in his favor at this point. Yes, it's keeping the weapon out of his immediate vicinity, but the shooter's still very capable, and as you see, he's going to be able to adjust here. Trains the weapon, another person comes in, and then he starts shooting. Shoots both people, and now he enters into the casino. As he's entering the casino, he's very calm, and he starts training his weapon, and now you're going to see a security person take advantage of the fact he's coming in from behind. Now we've stopped it here and we've circled it because the guy had complete surprise on the active shooter, but he chose to tackle him, which obviously seems like something that would be normal, something that you would do, take the person to the ground, try to control him. But as you're going to see in the next frame, it doesn't always work out well when you just try to tackle somebody. You see as he's coming around here, boom, right there. That flash that you just saw was a gunshot. It unfortunately struck the individual and ended up killing him. You're going to see what happens as it plays out here. He gets him to the ground, incredibly heroic what he did, but you can see his body start to be limp and start to hold off here. Other people are rushing in to control the situation, and I think it'll be more useful at this point for me to take it to the studio and have us go over the salient points of what just happened and how to look at it in the future, why tackling somebody isn't necessarily something you want to do. So let's go to the studio. Okay, so it was a little bit unclear on the video as far as seeing exactly what happened because it's grainy. It's actually a closed circuit TV video of the real incident. What I want to do is just kind of show you specifically what happened at the end there when that security guy grabbed the individual and got shot. How did that happen? So simulated, I got a couple of the guys here and they're going to reenact it for us. Now, you remember when the shooter was coming out, he was walking out of the club area, he had the weapon trained, so go ahead and just train the weapon. And it was completely clear at this point, a clear shot to get into this guy. So then, when the security guy comes in, he decides right here to tackle. Now, as he's tackling, you'll notice what happened. This guy twisted in, and you can see the result. That was that flash that you saw on the video. They went to the ground, and again, more people came in and jumped in and controlled the situation, but this poor guy ended up bleeding out. Incredibly brave what he did. Unfortunately, the result wasn't what he was hoping for. So what we want to do is let's just look at a simple way where we could put an injury on somebody and not have ourselves get shot. This guy not be able to actually use the weapon. Okay, so this time what we're going to do is we're going to give you the same scenario, but then we're going to introduce injury into the situation and see how this turns out. Again, the shooter comes out, he's training the weapon on the casino. Security personnel sees him, sees his opportunity to get a completely blind approach on him, and this time we're going to use injury. You'll notice he used a forearm to the back of the head, causing a massive concussion. Again, he dropped the tool here, he dropped the weapon, but most importantly, he is injured. So he is busy dealing with the injury that Michael just put on him, and there's no way he can not only not operate the gun, but all of his other body tools, his ability to resist, is completely under control. Again, the ultimate safety of this guy, the byproduct from him putting an injury on the individual rather than grabbing somebody. Again, when I grab somebody, I haven't changed anything yet. They still have an active brain, and you saw what happened. Person turned in and shot him. He was able to do that before he hit the ground. So what we're trying to get across with everybody is the idea of if you're going to put your hands on somebody in a life or death situation, you want to make sure that you get an injury.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so that incident really changed a lot of things in security. You know, when guys were looking at the day, because they've had some incidents in Vegas where that's at, because it shocked everybody that the guy they were taught to tackle, they were taught to do stuff like that. So again, it's just you have to understand a dedicated person, somebody there, and when you're tackling, you know how it is. I mean, you're going up, you're naturally twisting when you came in, and this guy was committed. He just came right in. He had no problem shooting people, as you saw. And the idea was he was still, even when he's getting tackled and turned, he still had no problem, you know, getting a shot off and unfortunately murdering that guy when he came on. Now that was just one approach you could have done. You know, there are other injuries you could have put on the individual. What we just wanted to show was he had a clear shot. He took it. He had the momentum. He had everything, you know, in his favor. But the fact that he went to control the situation rather than injure, it just worked out that way. And again, it's not denigrating what happened. It was a really shitty situation. But that's all I try to tell, because when, you know, like you were showing the one of the guy doing the grappling and throwing people, they didn't take any of that into consideration. And again, it was one of those things where I think what people do is sometimes they have training and they go, okay, if I was going to use my training to take a guy out that has a weapon, how would I do it? And some of the stuff they were showing was great, but the guy was showing stuff that you had to be a pretty damn good wrestler to pull it off. And also, he didn't take into account the idea of disparity of weight or anything like that. I mean, you know, you try to do that against a much bigger guy, it's going to be really difficult for you to do that. Whereas injury is something that's available to everybody. Yeah,
that's a great point. And the other video, I should have showed it, but I'm not going to. But it's a guy who's very skilled grappler, wrestler, you know, showing different ways to take down a guy who's armed with a long gun or handguns and stuff like that, and lock him up here, do this, take him down here, scoop him here, roll him here. And, you know, the bottom line, if somebody you know or don't know has a gun out and you're not at a range shooting, right, at targets, and something weird is about to happen or is happening, in this case, like the Vegas thing, the guy has demonstrated that he is going to kill people. He started shooting people. He's not brandishing. He's not threatening or robbing. And that's another thing, the psychology changes. If somebody's got a gun out and they got a mask on and they're going, give me your wallet, that's one scenario, and it induces a type of fear and response in the intended victim. If I now take the mask off and I go, get in the trunk of the car, we're going to a secondary crime scene, that changes your psychology too. The movement might be the same, but if I need to stop anybody with a weapon, I guess what this almost 90-minute talk is about, folks, is we're just trying to make you safer by asking you to really think about what you practice and how you practice, and then look at capability gaps in your training. There is no way, if all you do is start on the ground and you're grappling, that you're going to be thinking about, you know, do I know targets that stun and put people unconscious or worse? Will I go to that level of violence? It shouldn't be eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. It should be, he's got a gun, I'm in danger, I got to fuck this guy up. There's so many other things to think about. Guys, Tim, there's a couple of questions in here I want to pop up on the screen.
Okay.
That are sort of non sequiturs, but part of the whole talk. But is there anything else you wanted to say about the Vegas shooting or
no, it's just, I guess what I want to do is, there's nothing wrong with training in combat sports there's so many benefits to it, that you can learn. It's just the disclaimer is when you're looking at real criminal violence that you have to deal with. There's just things that are realities you have to deal with. A perfect example. I've started really in the last couple of years doing archery. I love it. It's so much fun. It's great. I may go bow hunting one day. I may not. I don't know. But I enjoy it. I enjoy the hell out of it. If something happens in the middle of the night in my house, I'm not grabbing my bow. I'm going in there, and it's just not going to happen.
Right.
It doesn't mean what I'm doing with the archery is I learned so much. You learn just your breathing patterns. There's all sorts of really cool things that I get out of it. It's almost, Zen-like. There's some really cool people that do it. But I do it because I love it, because it's fun. It's like a meditation for me. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be practical for self-defense or anything like that. And I don't even have to be a hunter to enjoy it.
Right.
But that's all I'm trying to tell people. Don't, if you really enjoy doing something, enjoy it for what it is. Or just don't confuse it with real violence. And that's the caveat I put on everything.
I dig it. I love it. Okay, guys, I'm going to take a couple of the other questions earlier. I want to scroll up here and see what we got here. Some nice comments. Thank you. I'm going to put this one. Well, let me do this. Stand by. So this is from Tracy. She's a domestic violence survivor making a mission now to educate as many women as possible on how to self-protect. So learning as much as possible. Most women are not taking this type of training. What device would you recommend first to carry? I'm going to answer that really quick. And I suspect that Tim will agree with this, but might have some other ideas. I've had people over the years ask me to endorse different products or devices, and I've always resisted that because I said, listen, you need to be the human weapon. You need to know why you're going to fight and when you're going to fight and what you're going to do. You need to manage your fear, and until somebody explores the organic resources that they bring, I don't like the idea of putting a device in their hand, Tracy. And it's no different in some weird way, some weird reverse logic to what Tim was talking about of, I got a bad guy with a gun, I'm going to render him, I'm going to incapacitate him, I'm going to render him unconscious or injured so that that gun is no longer a threat. In other words, what Tim's talking about, attack the human. You as a human weapon need to disable the other human, and then they as a weapon and whatever device they have in their hand, gun, knife, club, whatever, is no longer valid. So this is a rambly answer of, I'm not a big fan of OC and knives or guns or anything. If you're going to look like Barney Fife, you guys remember Barney Fife? I just dated myself, and I grabbed a gun and I'm like this. Like if you've got a true asocial predator in the room, they're going to read that energy. So before I stick something in somebody's hand, I need them to be able to look in the mirror and go, yes, I'm going to protect myself and my family. And now it's okay. Here are some things. So that's kind of my philosophy, is like, work on yourself first, and then get a product if you want. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, I always recommend for women too that women have great intuition, and oftentimes, especially with women, the issue is there's a good chance there's somebody in your circle that's the issue, especially when it comes to the domestic violence. And so, studying human nature, reading books like Robert Greene's latest book, what's it called? I was recommending it's a human nature book. It's brilliant when you read that. Understanding why people do what they do and recognizing personalities, and then avoiding those personalities within your circles. That's one of the things that's really key. Is just from a preventative standpoint. The physical's there. The physical training is yes. Is it important? Yes, but realize that oftentimes it's not. With women, it's not a recognition that violence could be a potentiality. It happens to everybody else, not me. And then there's this other thing that I see prevalent amongst mainly women, and I understand the premise, but the idea is if I investigate a subject like self-defense, violence, thing like that, I'm going to bring it upon myself. It's a karma thing. And my answer to that, when somebody says that to me, I always say to them, I said, well, do you have a fire extinguisher in your house? And by code, you probably have to have a fire extinguisher, right? And they go, well, yeah. Well, do you know how to use that fire extinguisher? Oh, yeah, I know how to use it. I go, oh, so you want fire to come to your house?
Right.
You come in. No, what you've done is, in the potentiality, and it's a low potentiality that you're going to have to face a fire, but in that eventuality, you understand you have something, you know how to use it, and now you can just relax. Until there's a need for that, you don't have to be constantly thinking about it. And one thing I've noticed is when women do train, one thing that's really interesting is they're not as they're hyper vigilant, but they're not scared as much. I mean, women are far more aware of the potentiality for violence than men are. An unfamiliar male walking into a elevator with a woman is a very different thing than an unfamiliar male walking in to an elevator with a man. Most of us, we don't think twice about it, unless it's really obvious. Women, each and every time, they have to think about the potentiality for violence that way. And so by understanding that, and understanding that it's okay to listen to those cues and be intuitive to get yourself out of there, is really worthwhile. So I understand why it's not as popular with women to do this. Also, there's this idea that bigger, faster, stronger trumps everything, so there's nothing I can do anyways. And it's just not the case. There's very effective methods that women can learn to protect themselves, but the most effective method ends up being they're much more likely to minimize the chance of violence coming into their life because they took the training, because they understand that. And that's really what you want to create for yourself.
Yeah. And just, we got really deep philosophically there, Tracy, but you're specifically asking about a device, if somebody's going to train with it, so they're going to keep some sort of pepper spray, OC, whatever's legal in your area, in your car or your purse. If you don't have the awareness to get it out, if you don't have the fear management skills to access it and deploy it, right? If you're not taught to use your intuition. And so I'm not saying I've given my girls, little things, but I've also gotten in their head about their safety and, being in a parking lot and being at night in transitional spaces and stuff like that. So I just wanted you to understand the philosophy behind that, it's got to be like the military expression. It's got to be an extension of yourself. It can't just be, oh my God, this horn's going to save me. Bad guys, our research indicates bad guys don't want to get caught. They don't want to get hurt. In most cases, they don't want things to take too long. So making noise, having something that makes noise or something that gets in their eyes, can be very effective. But if it becomes like a panacea, you give somebody something and they go, oh my God, they got this, and they think that's going to make them safer. That's the danger. That's what we're talking about. Okay, let's go something completely different. Pivot here. Robert Hamilton, other than high gear for everyone, do you have tips to keep focus on counterattacking versus grappling, as without gear, it ends up as more grappling in their defense? In other words, I don't know if Robert's still on. We've been going quite a while. First of all, I think everyone should have high gear. I would love millions of you should buy high gear immediately. Right now, go, please just email me your credit card. I will send you 2 high gear suits, one for you, one for your wife or husband. Thank you. What was that show at late at night? I should do like infomercials with selling high gears. Okay.
Couples walking around high gear in the house. That'd be great.
Right. So tips to keep focus on counterattacking versus grappling. In other words, with a high gear helmet, you can simulate eye gouging with intensity. You can headbutt, you can drop an elbow on somebody. Now we take the helmet off. For me, my quick answer is you need to do isolation drills where, you remember, Robert, you're one of our certified coaches, so you know the maxim: never practice pulling, never practice missing, right? So if Tim grabs me and slams me against the wall, and I go, oh shit, I gotta break contact. Well, Tim is not going to just let go of me because I went ki. So I'm going to stick my thumbs in his eyes if that's my first go-to move. I'm going to grab his hand and drop that elbow in there. Because he doesn't have a high gear helmet on, I've got to change the speed, but I never change making contact with the target I wanted and never following through what I've discussed in class is necessary depth of penetration. A lot of martial artists do things like, got you, I would have got you. And so you pull your side kick to the leg, where we'll actually drive through the knee, watch my role player's leg bend in the way that it's not supposed to, in a safe way, at a safe speed. Remember this motto also: training can hurt, but should never injure. So there are certain drills when you don't have equipment that you absolutely need to slow down. Tim?
Yeah, I agree with that. What we do is the same thing. When you want to train for the actual areas that you're going to injure. In order to do that, you have to modulate, speed when you go in there. You do it with 110% in your head, in going through, but you're taking care of your training partner. But you got to go in these areas of the human body that get a result. Then, when you want to, there's all sorts of training aids like Tony's gear, and then a lot of times guys use the tackling dummies and stuff like that, to where you can put everything you have into a strike, so you feel that resistance in the kind of momentum that you're going to put into a strike, for your body weight deployment. But you have to separate the two. One is, you deploying all your body weight into something so you feel what it's like to do that. The other is to sit there and really take the time, slow, correct, and accurate, to know where, you want to put that kind of effort in. And so it gives you both. You have to have both. You have to be able to feel what it's like to get resistance and do that, but you need to earn the right to use speed. And the more, vulnerable area that you go into the human body, the more you're going to have to modulate, the velocity on what you do. And that's where everybody understands that in the firearms training. And which is, nothing's more chaotic than a firefight, and everybody trains, crawl, walk, run, slow, accurate, correct. But for some reason, when it comes to this stuff, everybody wants to front load everything with full speed, scenario-based training before you have any foundation.
What ends up happening, and I've seen it in real fights, is, and I actually wrote, was it Friday's article? Yeah, on my article on my Substack. If you guys aren't getting my Substack articles, you should pop that up. At least if we've got the thing for Substack, stick it up so people know what it is. But I talked about that even when I'm working. I did an article on mindful mindful solo training. But I said, even when I'm going slowly, if my mic, and I'll show this here, if my mic was somebody's throat, right? Me doing this, going like front loading, what I'm doing is I'm actually getting really good at not hitting something. I'm training I'm myelinating the neuron to pull the shot as I make contact, versus doing enough reps where I come in there and I'm going slam and I'm making contact and I'm moving it. And so my role player is going, what are you doing, man? It's okay. I can do it to myself, right? It's soft tissue, but I can't chop myself in the throat without pulling it. So but there's got to be a balance. there's got to be a blend, and there's a time for high gear. There's a time for slow motion. There's a time for, and like I say, it's like I said about the grappling stuff before. That's great to do as long as you're after action and going, guys, we did this, we learned this. I was out of breath there. If this fight went longer than 30 seconds, I'm fucked. Okay, I got to do more sprints. I got to do more anaerobic. My grip strength was horrible. I flagged myself the whole time with the weapon. There's things to learn. So you demystify all of that. Let's jump on to something else, unless you want to add something to that, because I got one that's right up your alley. Victor asks, do either of you recommend specific targets when getting an injury from the side, behind, or front? Victor, I think what you're talking about is applying an injury, like the target to the threat. I'll let you answer this one, Tim.
Yeah. So what we do is our approach is we never know how you're gonna what orientation you're gonna be in when you need the information. So what we'll do is we'll isolate a target area, and then we'll give you different sight pictures. And so then you end up making your own decisions. And so you would be able to answer that question yourself by going through the areas of the human body, and then us manipulating, the orientation for you to put an injury on it. It's a artificial process that we call assembly, and it's just to zone in on the target itself and what body tools you'll use. And then when we put you in free practice, that's where you'll see, from the side, that's right, I can do this. Or from that angle, and you start making your decisions, that way on it. So it becomes second nature for you. It's uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable process when you have to make your own decisions from the get-go. But that's how it's going to be when it hits the fan. So what we found is just taking the area of the human body, like say the throat, and we'll put the guy on the floor. We'll put him on all fours. We'll have him standing up, and you'll be able to use body tools from all those different orientations, and that gives the person a well-rounded view of the human body and what's effective and what they can do from the position they find themselves in.
Beautiful. In our system, Victor, we talk about we again share a provocative concept called the bad guy controls the fight. And people are like, whoa, wait a minute. No, I need to control the fight. No, the bad guy will present the target to you. If your favorite move is a headbutt and you get in a fight with a guy that just got off a motorcycle and he's wearing a full face mask, like helmet, then maybe headbutt isn't your move to do. So you can see there's a lot of stuff. And I said this to you in Vegas years ago, Tim, that like we say so many similar things in different ways. The target, with the acronym we use, close to weapon, closest target. But there's also the flip side. As you get deeper in it, it's closest target, closest weapon. You've got to be able to, you're having a fight that turns into a death match with your neighbor, over a property line, and he's about to kill you, and you don't notice that there's a fence between you guys, right? Where he's going, I'm gonna fucking kill you, and he reaches over the fence, and you're like kneeing and doing shin kicks and trying to double leg the fence, right? As opposed to, his head's right here, I'm gonna pull it over the fence and smash his neck into the, I'm making a joke here, but it's what's the scenario? Of course, there's got to be a moral, ethical, legal selection in what you're doing, and then the target that is available to you in that moment is the one you need to go to. And to Tim's point, if you've never thought about the different places to hit that might cause a reaction to set up a better target, or it's just what you can take there. There's a lot to explore, lots of fun stuff there. Let's see what else we got here. I haven't read this one here. Josh asks, does slowing down the speed cause issues in real life scenarios? I was in a seminar yesterday and we were doing a bunch of different strikes to the carotid artery, which would obviously cause issues at full speed. I've been asked this question a lot, where people go like, does training in slow motion maybe mean you're going to do things in slow motion in the real world? I've never seen it. To me, it's a similar urban legend or paranoid thought, like the karmic statement Tim made earlier. Like I don't learn self-defense because then I'll attract that to me. Doing stuff in slow motion, if all you do is things in slow motion and you don't know what aggression or kinetic energy or explosiveness feels like, I'm not saying you would do it in slow motion, but there would be fear of opening it up, right? So it's you would understand that element of it. All my students do things in slow motion, but they also do things at medium speed. They also do things we'll do reps where we go on something you can strike, like a med ball or a heavy bag, as hard as you can. Understand what that feels like as hard as you can. Now we'll do things where I'll go as angry as you can imagine yourself. Let's think about the scenario. And we do what we call emotional motion drills, so that you expose yourself to how different mindsets affect how you move. So how you think affects how you move, how you feel affects how you think. Both of them influence how you're going to move. So for me, my answer to this, Josh, is it will not cause issues in real life if you've discussed that and done the training in your scenario training that addresses why you're doing stuff in slow motion and then doing things at speed. What do you got, Tim?
Yeah, it's a great question, Josh, and I get this all the time. Probably I'd recommend, if you have not read the book, The Talent Code, you absolutely should read that. This guy went to all different disciplines, from a music school to tennis school to baseball to soccer. They all used the same methodology, which was slow, accurate, direct, deliberate training, to the point to where, like in the music school, it's the music school that Itzhak Perlman and Yo-Yo Ma both graduated from. They went through a tremendous amount of music, in like a year's worth of music in like 2 months. And what they did was they took a piece of music, they'd slice it all up, they'd mix it up, and you'd play out of order these pieces. And the rule was you had to play things so slowly that nobody, if they were walking by hearing you play, if they could understand the piece that you were playing, if they recognized the piece you were playing, you were going too fast. And yet, especially for the string, like violin, when they executed the actual piece of music they were playing, they did it lightning fast. And so the brain doesn't know the difference between fast and slow. It just says, what do you want me to do? And that's why slow and accurate and correct at first is the most important. You have to earn speed. And by doing that, it's now popularly called deep practice. And it takes a lot. Mentally, it takes a lot to go and, to do slow training correctly. It's very exhausting. But you do that crawl, walk, run that Tony was talking about. You spend, at the beginning of your training, you should spend a hell of a lot of time in the crawl stage and learning that. And it's true throughout everything. Even like if you talk about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I was listening to Rogan a while back, and he was talking to, I don't know who he was talking to somebody about jits. And he said, yeah, my biggest learning curve was when Eddie Bravo had me come by and we just did slow rolls, learning each technique. And he said, that's when I just skyrocketed, because then when you're going slow enough to understand the mistakes you're making, and then you can correct them there, the brain says, oh, great, now I know what you need me to do. So when you execute at full speed, you have a much greater chance of being more accurate. It goes in everything. I remember I was listening to Tim Ferriss talk to the lead singer, the lead guy, I can't think of his name, Mike Shinoda from Linkin Park. And Mike was geeking out because there was this new software that he was able to bring in for their last album. And all the software does was he could preload all the music that the guys had to learn, and he could control the speed. And he loaded everything up, and they never, at the beginning when they learned at 40%. 40% speed, and so they played it at 40%, and they got each of their chords perfectly. And he said it increased their learning time by over 60%. They were able to learn new pieces, 60% faster than they used to be able to do it. So it's a really valid methodology. You use it in shooting is that way all the time. It's always slow, accurate, correct. If the first thing that happens, if you start, losing your target group, what do? You pull back on speed, and you go back. So it's not. Slow doesn't mean weak. And that's the one thing that I have to be, there's a real difference between correctly doing deep practice with, full 110% intent and then just, going through the motions and just, oh, I touched the bad man, I touched the bad man, I touched the bad man. And that's not going to do anything for you. But if you have correct trainers that can, walk you through, they can accelerate your learning curve, huge. But that book is a great book, and it's used across everything. And Conor McGregor was famous for it. He was using a lot when he knocked out Jose Aldo. He was doing a lot of slow, deliberate training. And his thing was, I don't want to screw it up. He said, timing and accuracy beats power and speed on that. And what he meant by that was, going and getting slow training and understanding exactly where to go and get it. He goes, you can outdo somebody that's actually faster than you. If you are accurate and you have good timing. And the way you get that is, again, slow, deliberate training. As to Tony's point, he was talking about the myelin. That's what locks the myelin in your brain, which gives you the new training, and it allows you to execute.
Yeah, and so if you get into Talent Code is one of my favorite books. If you understand signal speed, when as an attacker, if I do something that seems fast to you, the only way you can compete with the speed of the attack is to improve your mind speed, because action's faster than reaction. So I'm not going to block faster if you moved first. A moved before B. A is always moving faster. The only way I can catch up is by improving mind speed. The only way you can improve your mind speed is by doing things slow and methodical. But you need to have a checklist of things you're thinking of. If you do it slow, but you don't know what the target is, you're missing a point. If you do it slow and you're not following through in a safe way, you're missing another component. If you're doing it while you go, hey, let me get ready, like we always do stuff, people familiar with our training know this expression, off balance on purpose. We always work off balance on purpose, because in a real violent encounter, for a period of time, you'll be off balance emotionally, psychologically, and physically. And if you can't recalibrate while doing damage and repositioning yourself, that's another area that's missing. Elisa, can you pop up just my article for a second from this week? Guys, check this out. This is crazy. Well, that's too small, but maybe put the link in there. Or scroll up a little bit. Oh, that's the no. Is that the page? Where's the article? Can we go to click on the article and scroll down? So it should stop there. So look at this. These are like philosophical things. Efficiency can amplify effectiveness. If you can do it slow, you can do it fast. I didn't even know Tim and I were going to talk about this shit. If you mean to do it, make it mean. So
dude, this is the danger. Every time we sit there, go, okay, we're going to keep it to 45 minutes.
Right.
We're impossible. We can't do it.
Okay. Well, let's do this. Let's.
Oh no, I mean that in a positive way, my friend.
Yeah. No. I my wife's texting me going, "Hey, we're going to breakfast. What's going on?" And I literally said to her, "Soon, I'm having fun." Right? Like, and I just messaged. I was about to message you this here. I just sent it to your phone. But I think we've talked about this before. But if we keep doing these like that might be a logical.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It would be great. I think people would get a lot out. The thing I love about, my conversations with you and everything. And plus, I've always said this, you're one of the few guys in the industry straight up, years ago, reached out to me and really, introduced me to people and did things. I mean, we've never seen each other as anything other than, colleagues. And I appreciate what you do. You appreciate what I do. And inviting me to your seminars and presenting to people and doing stuff like this. It was rare. It's getting better. I got to say, it is getting better in the industry. But dude, you were one of the first people to do that. And I always appreciated that. But you always had an interesting take, and I think at this stage of the game, it would be great for us to have people have both sides of what we do, and get the full value of it, which would be really fun. So we should do that.
What Tim and I are contemplating is putting on a seminar together, probably at your compound in Vegas. Yeah. If you'd be interested in that, send us a yes or no email. Not the chat won't stay there. what's a good email to send? You can send it to ask@Blower Tactical and just say, yeah, let me know when you and Tim do something. We'll get a list together and we'll figure out. You know, what we'll do is Tim, we'll do this again because you're always a blast, and I can't believe how fast the time goes by.
I know, brother. Same here.
But we'll do is we'll create a link, and when we
Hey,
get
just to go back to Josh's question real quick.
Yeah.
Right now I got a seminar going on right now, and these guys are doing the slow, accurate, and correct. But how it keeps, the other point I wanted to make, Josh, is you go slow, accurate, correct, and just if the instructor has to watch this, and just as you're getting whatever we're teaching you, now we're going to push you again. Now we're going to, okay, he's got that, and now we're going to push it again. We're not going to keep you at that. We're always going to keep you to where you're going to have to go slow, accurate, and correct. But as soon as you can add speed, we're going to add something else to it and push you to that next level. So you get going. So it's a constant, way of using it. So I understand your question. Your question is very valid, because I have seen people that they only do slow training and it's not progressive, and that's the one thing. Tony, the same thing. Tony does progressive training. He gets them in the accurate, but then they have to understand what it's like to fully execute. And it's valid. It's just my only argument is most people front load, combatives especially, just to put a term on it, they go way into like, chaotic scenario based training before the individual has any skill set on, just using their own weapon system accurately and correctly.
100%. And I've seen you do something is like the demo I did with my mic before. You're trying to do this gun disarm as fast as you can, and then and I see this like over and over again. Guy points a gun in your face, and the guy does this, and then points the gun back at the other guy. And it was like if you both knew counters, like it'd be like a 3-hour long fight till you got tired and decided to go have a drink together, because you're doing this, you take it, and then he takes it away, because you're not fucking anybody up. You're not passing that weapon and punching the guy in the throat, or ripping it out of his hand and taking a finger off from the trigger guard and then smashing him in the face. And you can't do that stuff fast. So, I mean, that was one of the most exciting things we did, with high gear, where suddenly you realize I could grab this and headbutt the guy here and smash him in the face, with the gun, and then smash him in the face with, pull it back, muzzle strike him with the gun, simulate, making sure the gun was operable. And you could practice that stuff off balance on purpose and go, well, that didn't work. That did work. And kind of find that natural homeostasis of what would I do in a violent encounter? Do I have a sense of the emotional, psychological, physical challenges to make this happen? Okay, we can talk forever. We're at 2 hours now. Holy shit. We're at 90 minutes. Wow. Dude, you're a blast. Everyone who logged in today, thank you for sharing your Sunday morning with us. Go follow Tim. Do we have Tim's info to share up there, Lisa, somewhere? I know we've got it somewhere. TimLarkin.com. And any other website you want them to follow? Target Focus Training.
Yeah, but either of those work. We'll get you in there. And no, I appreciate it, Tony. And like I said, I look forward to next time you're out here in Vegas. It'll be great. But I really appreciate the offer to come on and talk to your people and get on there. It's always fun. Yeah, I always learn something every time I do this. And and always, as I always tell everybody, Tony's great about this. If for anything came up later and you guys have questions, just send it to Tony and he'll get it to me. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Rock on. Okay, be safe. Enjoy your Sunday. Thank you, everybody. Everyone else, be safe. Enjoy your Sundays, and we'll see you on the next No Fear Live. Take care. Thanks, Elisa.